Hi, everybody. This is a quick introduction to poetry that I like to share every year at the beginning of our poetry unit. And it is based on a poem by Billy Collins, who, as you can see, was our poet laureate for several years. The poem introduces a couple of different ways of looking at poetry. And so I want to begin by first just letting you experience the poem on your own. So take a few minutes to read this poem, and you can pause the video if I don't give you enough time. All right, so now that you've had a chance to read the poem, we're going to look through several of the key elements of it. It's a cute little poem. I hope you enjoyed it. So, in the beginning of the poem, we are presented with a series of similes and metaphors for what poetry is. It says, I ask them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say, drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. And so, if we look at each one of these stanzas and the simile or metaphor that it presents, we see a couple of patterns. We have comparisons to light, hold it up to the light like a slide, feel the walls for a light switch. We also have comparisons to living things, press an ear against its hive, drop a mouse into a poem, water ski across the surface. And so, what we can make from this is that Billy Collins sees poems as alive and moving. Their meaning is able to be discovered organically with light. The poem hums like a hive. It can be tricky, like a maze that you would drop a mouse into, but it is able to be enjoyed on the surface, like an exciting adventure of water skiing. So, we have a lot of positive connotations in the top half of this poem. And it shows how he, the poet, wants people to experience poetry. Then, though, we have a shift, but, and we have all they want to do. And this pronoun has been here throughout. I ask them, I say do this, and I want them. So this them and they has been kind of an unidentified pronoun throughout the poem, but it really becomes urgent here at the end because while he's been explaining what he wants, now he turns to what this unidentified they want to do. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. They begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really means. And so we can assume then that they might be students, teachers, readers, instructors, people who want to analyze the poem. And what we are presented with then are comparisons to torture and beating, tying up a poem, torturing it, beating a confession out of it. It's a very drastic shift from this positive, bright, living concept of the poem to this painful, violent action that they want to take with it. And then I also like in the last line to find out what it really means. It's like you can hear air quotes or italics on that word. And so from this, what we gather is that Billy Collins sees teachers or students of poetry as other, as they, separate from himself, separate from poets. He sees the act of analyzing poetry as an unnatural or cruel act where we, the readers, hold the poem down and torture it. And then the last line has that sarcastic, really, as if he's mocking our ability to ever know what a poem really means. And so I like this introduction to poetry because it presents the two different sides of reading a poem. This year, we are going to tie some poems to a chair and beat confessions out of them. We will be doing that. We will pick them apart with pens and pencils and highlighters, and we will surgically analyze them. But hopefully, we will also water ski across the surface of some poems as well and just introduce you to some lovely sounds and some beautiful images that poets present to us. And so now you will turn to your textbooks and we will get into exactly how we're going to tie those poems down.